A few weeks ago, I got to see Mitch Trubisky up close and personal in Los Angeles, and it was atrocious. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen from a quarterback. You might or might not know this, but I took to the YouTube here and called this the worst season ever, said it all comes down to the quarterback, and it really does. And at that point, it really did. That game against the Rams was certainly winnable, and if Mitch, he might have been hurt, who knows, but that team was not playing well on that particular Sunday. It was awful. People wanted to walk out. People started throwing around the RG word, which you never want to do. This town has not seen a performance that bad since Jesse Spano starred in Showgirls. And if any of you anti-boomers or Gen Z kids are like, who is this person? You don't know what Saved by the Bell is. Jessie Spano is Elizabeth Berkley. That's her real name. She starred in a movie called Showgirls. Now, Elizabeth Berkley was my childhood crush. Imagine your childhood crush starring in a movie as a stripper and you didn't like it. I mean, okay, it was kind of cool. But the acting was terrible, and the quarterback play by Mitch Trubisky in the game against the Rams was awful. And rightly so. We started wondering about, hey, could Andy Dalton be the quarterback next season? Are they going to trade for Cam Newton? We saw a report from Ian Rappaport that the Panthers are intent on moving on from Cam Newton. So it was awful. And it seemed like the season was over. It seemed like the year was done. And we put a lot of the blame on Mitch Trubisky. And again, he was not playing well. This is not anything personal. I think we all like Mitch Trubisky. We loved it during the summer when he really embraced the history of the Bears, was putting on McMahon's headband, wearing the sunglasses. We want Mitch Trubisky to succeed. Despite what a lot of people will tell you, we want him to be a good quarterback. That is something that we desire. Here's the funny thing. He's actually starting to play like a good quarterback. He was great against the Giants. He played really well on Thanksgiving against the Detroit Lions, and everybody's making the jokes about, oh, look at this Blau guy. Mitch outplayed him. And I know he's like, hey, it's Daniel Blau or whatever. I don't even know what that guy's name. Who gives it what his name is? Then he goes out, Thursday Night Football, dominates the Dallas Cowboys. And again, people might be a little apprehensive to give him too much praise, but we really need to start looking at what he's doing statistically. Because if you'll allow me for a second, if I may check my notes and just go over a couple of things that Mitch Trubisky is doing really well, it's really quite incredible. Mitch has had 3 touchdown passes in a game 7 times. In 7 times in his short career, and of course the Bears are 6-1. In those games, he completed 74% of his passes. His air yards was up to 7.9. And you know what else? He had 3 touchdown passes in a game for the second consecutive week. And second time he's done that in his career. He has averaged close to 300 passing yards with 7 offensive touchdowns over his last 2 games. His passer rating is 116.9 in the Bears. Very tough to beat when his passer rating is above 90. He's one of 3 quarterbacks this season with multiple games of 3 touchdown passes and 1 rushing touchdown in the last 2 seasons. Drew Brees, Josh Allen are the other 2 guys who have done that. And of course, the Bears are now 3-1 when Mitch has 50 rushing yards in a game over the last 2 years. And really, ever since Harrison Smith had that cheap-ass play where he ruptured his shoulder, Mitch had been a little bit apprehensive about running the football, but we saw that on Thursday night. And if he does that, if he's committed to doing that, because that was really one of the plays against the Rams that stood out to me, was that they called an option, and Mitch wouldn't even approach the line. He took 1 step and pitched instead of trying to engage the defensive end, making him commit, and then pitching the ball out there. If Mitch can start running, that is going to be a good sign. Some also things. He is one of 3 quarterbacks with 3 games with a passer rating above 150 rushing yards since 2018. The others are Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Maybe you've heard of them. And according to Next Gen Stats, Trubisky was 7 for 20, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns on quick passes. That's fewer than 2.5 seconds to throw the ball. And he's been very good when he's getting the ball out of his hands, being decisive, hitting that first read, and then going for it. And according to Pro Football Focus, Trubisky gained 3 first downs, 32 rushing yards on 4 scrambles in this game. And this is kind of a fun thing, too. And this comes to us from not Next Gen Stats. I'm sorry to the people that look this up, and I'm not giving you the credit for this. He is the first player in NFL history to complete 70% of his passes on at least 30 attempts, throw 3+ touchdown passes, rush for 50 yards, and rush for a touchdown. No player in NFL history has ever done that. So you look at that game, and I know a lot of people will be like, hey, it's the Dallas Cowboys. They suck now, which is like, okay, well, apparently last year they sent 15 dudes to the Pro Bowl, but now that team sucks and doesn't have any talent, what have you. And I will even say this. And again, I joke around now that Mitch on Thursday now looks like the best Bears quarterback of my lifetime. And to be fair, the Bears haven't had a lot of great quarterbacks. I think the best Bears quarterbacks in my lifetime are McMahon, Cutler, and Walter Payton on the halfback option. And then the fourth is empty, and then fifth is pretty much anybody but Rex Grossman. Oops, I said the RG word. But here's my thing, and I think this is what the takeaway should be this week. And I understand that the Giants are terrible, the Lions suck, and the Cowboys are garbage. You know what? They might be. But you know what? That's what we want. Go out there and take care of your business against those terrible teams. That's exactly what we want. That's what quarterbacks should do. But you know what? We have to be honest here. And we have to look at this game this week against the Green Bay Packers as the game that is going to define what Mitch Trubisky's season was all about. Now, I'm not saying that I don't want to go to the playoffs, that I don't want them to go win a Super Bowl. That was the expectation coming into the year. That expectation has not changed, but you know what? Through circumstances, injuries, defensively, some mismanagement in that Chargers game, I mean, this team could literally, I mean, let's be fair. They should have 9 wins. Like, can we say that? Can we admit that? But this is what it comes down to. Listen, some opportunities were lost. They cannot lose this opportunity on Sunday, going up against the Green Bay Packers, going on the road. Mitch Trubisky has not done as well on the road. Obviously Detroit, but that doesn't really count. This is the time for him to go up and get after it. This is what we brought him in for. This is why Ryan Pace moved up in the draft to select Mitch Trubisky ahead of Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. This is an opportunity. Packer fans still think it's a joke that Mitch Trubisky is not going to be the quarterback of the future, that he's not going to be able to go out there and get it done. And that's fine. You know what you got to do? You got to go out and you got to do it. Last year in the opener, Mitch played pretty well, drove the team down, put them close to a position to win, missed a couple of throws here and there. He did beat them, of course, later in the season, which was great. But you got to win in Lambeau. This is the key. This is the one. If you want to be the quarterback of the future, if you don't want an offseason of people talking about trading for Cam Newton or bringing in Andy Dalton or maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick or is Gardner Minshew available, if you don't want to hear that in the offseason, this is the opportunity to go out there and make it happen. So, Mitch, it's all up to you. I have faith in you. I've seen a lot of great things over the last 3 weeks. Everybody is dogging you. Go out there and shove it up their ass. Hell, you'll even be shoving it up mine a little bit too. I have questioned the draft pick. I was upset a couple of weeks ago. This is your opportunity to go out there and establish yourself as the Bears starting quarterback for the future. Go out there, beat this team, get it done, and I think he can do it. And you know what? We can look at the playoff picture and everything like that after that, but go out this week, get that done. Mitch, please, I'm asking you, beat the Packers.